Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another Life with Miss video. Yes, my hair is gonna blow through this whole video. It's a little hot in the room. I'm running the AC. It's right in front of me. And yeah, and that's just how this video is gonna go. So I'm not turning off that AC and I'm not moving. This is one of those rare occasions where I did the picture before recording the video. I usually don't do that. I usually do the picture last, right before I'm gonna post. And so in the picture, I do word it, finally watch the Michael movie. I don't know why I added the word finally in, because the movie released in theaters in April and I watched it in July. One of the biggest reasons that I didn't watch it in April is because I'm not a theater person. I don't really go to the theaters anymore. The last movie I watched in theaters was Warcraft. And that's just because Warcraft, like, I guess it can be said for Michael Jackson as well, but like Warcraft is a game I've been playing like solidly every day, more or less, for 21 years. So at that time when it released, it was like 15, 16 years, and it just warranted going to the theaters. So I'm basically go to the theaters once every 10 years. I guess Michael Jackson could have been a reason, because we are at our 10-year mark. So if I don't go to the theater to watch something this year, we will go over our one every 10 years. But because the last movie I went and saw was 2016 in the theaters. But nonetheless, let's talk about it. So I bought it on DVD. So it is available on DVD for those that maybe didn't know. So here it is. I purchased it a few days ago. And so I watched it on Friday night because, for those that don't really know my schedule, I work a lot, and that isn't just one job. Like, I also do my YouTube and my streams, and so I really only have Friday and Sundays that I can kind of commit to other things. Those are the days that Stream knows is a little more iffy if I'm there, because of editing. So more or less they know not to expect me, but once in a while I'll surprise them with a stream on a Friday or a Sunday. But for the most part, they know those are the editing days. High chance I don't show up. So I figured, okay, Friday will be a movie watching day, because I had bought a bunch. Here's a picture. So Michael was just one of 4 that I bought. But it was one that I'd heard really good things about. And for me, a little backstory, I grew up listening to his music. He was already a big star by the time I came into the world. I am older, but he is older than I am. Well, he would be if he was alive. He still was older when he died, but funny enough, like, I'm approaching the age that he was when he died, which is just insane. He was 50 when he died, and I'm 47, and it's like, wow. Wow, I can't believe, like, I'm approaching the age that he should have surpassed. No matter, I know there's a lot of controversy with Michael Jackson, but no matter what you think, like, he still should have surpassed that age. 50 is young. And yeah, so let's talk about the movie. It was great. I loved it. I'm glad I bought it. I did buy it on a whim. It could have turned out to be some crap movie. It's definitely not the first. Another whoa, I can't believe situation is the fact that he's been dead for almost 20 years. It's like so crazy when I think of it like that, because, well, for starters, I'm starting to think that maybe I didn't realize he was dead the year he died, because Now, this is WoW brain here. So bear with me. Only World of Warcraft people understand my WoW brain. But 2009 is when he died. And that was, I hate to say it, but that was prime WoW time. I think anyone that died around that time, I didn't know about because I was so in my WoW bubble that I was not paying attention to any celebrity deaths. You know, even nowadays, I feel like I know more now because of YouTube and stuff, but YouTube and streams and all of that weren't as big in 2009. So it's like, yeah, I think that I did not know. You know, I feel like I didn't know he was dead until like 10 years ago. Yeah, so it is crazy to me that he's been dead for like almost 20 years. Yeah, but you know, but nonetheless, let's get into our topic. So so the movie itself, I thought it was great. There was a couple of whoa moments in it, and the ending of the movie really got to me. So I don't know if it's really a spoiler, but just in case, you know, it is a new movie. Even although my picture does say finally watched, it literally came out in theaters a couple of months ago. You know, it just released on DVD. So I don't know why I worded it that way. This is one of the rare occasions when I'm not super late to a movie. I'm just not doing this video the week it released, you know, as many YouTubers do. But at the end, it literally says his story continues. You know, or his story will continue. Can't remember how they worded it. Either his story continues or his story will continue. And I immediately, within seconds of seeing that on the screen, I immediately was in a Google page and I was like, is there a sequel coming? Because that is what that said to me. I'm like, wait a sec. And the way the movie had kind of gone through, it made sense because it kind of ends right when he's becoming very popular with his solo career. Because the thing with me is I grew up with Michael Jackson, but like he'd already had this super popular career with the Jackson 5. I grew up with him more as a solo creator. You know, by the time I came into the world was around the time he was going solo with, you know, he had just released Thriller and all that. So that's my timeline, you know, and I've said many times that I don't regret being older. I don't wish I was younger. You know, I love the timeline that I grew up in and was born into, because I got to see the rise of the king of pop. You know, I also got to see the rise of the queen of pop, Madonna. And then we have the princess of pop, Britney. No one really knows who the prince of pop is. I always thought it was actually Prince, you know, Prince, the singer. So I always thought it was that, but I know like for a while there when, you know, because when Britney was at her prime, you know, she was with Justin and Justin was kind of at his prime, you know, with NSYNC and doing his solo career. So they were kind of considered the princess and prince of pop. And I realize I'm getting slightly off topic here, but we'll get back on track. But, you know, fun fact, and I was going to do a whole different video on this, but, you know, since it's only one comment, I'll just make it in this video. But fun fact, no one knows who the Prince of Pop is. It's almost like there is no musician out there that is good enough to hold on to that title. And you got to be damn good. Like, Michael Jackson has held on to the King of Pop title for so fucking long and through death, you know? And I'm pretty sure, if I recall right, I'm pretty sure prior to him, it was Elvis, right? Like it had to be, right? Although Elvis was more like, I don't know, rock, country rock, you know, he kind of, I don't know. You tell me in the comments. I think it was more like a country rock, but you know, still, you know, he's held on to the King of Pop title forever. He will probably always have the King of Pop title. I don't think anyone's gonna ever take that title. And then Madonna, she'll always hold on to Queen of Pop. The only one that's iffy is like Britney could eventually lose the Princess of Pop title. It's hard to say. You know, yeah, but she keeps it. You know, she remains to keep it, which I think's really kind of amazing, considering, as far as I know, she's not releasing music anymore, right? And that's what makes these titles so iconic, is that these are all people who aren't even making music anymore. You know, Michael Jackson's dead. Madonna, I don't believe, releases any new tracks. Britney, she's, you know, got her own thing happening. You know, like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And then we don't have a prince of pop. And like, I always thought it was Prince, but to be fair, no one holds on to it, because if anyone held on to it, we would all know who it belonged to, just like we all know who these other three belong to. So yeah. So just a little sidetrack there, but getting back on topic. So the Michael movie, so without giving away too many spoilers, I personally think there's going to be 3. And okay, keep in mind that for starters, this is not the first Michael movie out there. Like, there's been a bunch of documentaries on the guy, right? But this is my favorite one that I've seen, and I've watched them all. So I've seen them all, and this is the best one. Fun fact for those that didn't know, it's actually his nephew that plays him, and his nephew, who's Jafar Jackson, the son of one of the members, or, you know, former members of the Jackson 5, you know, because it was a family business. And fun fact, he never acted. He had no interest in acting, and but, you know, someone had suggested him, and they put him through acting classes. When he first started doing the role, they told him straight out he sucked. and he had to go do some acting classes to portray that role, and yay that he did, because I think he did an amazing job in this movie. And a lot of the time it feels like you're watching an actual Michael Jackson concert. Now, the reason I think there's going to be 3 is because, well, it ends, like I said, it ends at where it almost begins for me, my experience of Michael Jackson, you know, which is the Thriller. You know, him releasing Thriller and, you know, and Beat It, and, you know, all those iconic songs that we remember, right? And that was my first CD of him. I didn't really listen to the Jackson 5 at that time. It was later on, when I started becoming more of a fan, that I like listened to Jackson 5. And the reason I think there's going to be, like, no documentary ever does like a part 1, part 2, part 3. So this would be a first. But the reason I think there's going to be 3 is because, well, we have one which is him from a kid to exiting the Jackson 5, basically telling his dad that this is what I'm doing, you can't stop me, and then going solo and having this big crazy success immediately, right? And then that's where it ends. And that is not where his story ends. That's like the beginning of his story. So I think the second one, there was one thing that was really missing in the first movie. And she was a big part of my childhood. And that is Janet Jackson. The whole way through, I was like, where's Janet? I see the whole family, but where the fuck is Janet? And for just a little insight into me while I'm talking about all this, when I was a kid and I was like listening to Michael Jackson, I also listened to Janet Jackson. I was a huge fan of Janet Jackson. I listened a lot to her and her brother, Michael Jackson. And then I found out she was going to be in this movie, Poetic Justice. And I was like, fuck yeah. My favorite singer is going to be in a movie. Right. And I have been such a fan of that movie ever since. It was her and Tupac, and great movie. Rip Tupac. I'm sure there'll be, I'm sure someone will do a yet another movie on him. But that was a great movie, romance from the hood, more or less. And then, at that point I was like, how can it get better? This is great. And it got better in 95 when she teamed up with Michael and did Scream. I don't know if you guys have seen the video for that, or heard the song. If you're older, I'm sure you have, but I don't know the age group of most of you guys. My regulars, I know they're rough age, but I have people that watch and don't comment. I don't know what age crowd I'm talking to right now. So you might be in your 20s or something, and maybe this, the only thing you ever hear is stuff that people say online, right? And so that was their duet that they did for another album. And man, that song, I have loved that song, and I have loved that video ever since that day. Yeah. And this was back in the MTV era. MTV was the shit, man. And you can tell that era, even although it's gone more or less. And, but you can tell the era because the production of music videos, no one does music videos like they did back in the 90s. It was one of the biggest things I loved about both Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson was their music videos were so fucking good, and of course, as many of you guys know, I'm a rock girl, so it's kind of odd for me to be talking about pop music, but there are rock bands that have great music videos too. Don't get me wrong. But they're not the topic of today's video. So yeah, but yeah, for her, I loved Rhythm Nation. I was always singing Rhythm Nation around the house. I loved that song. And yeah, so then in 95, when her and Michael did that duet together, that was the shit. And that I became more a fan of the two of them together. Before, it was really weird because they're brother and sister, and I kind of listened to their music as if they weren't related at all. Janet would be over here, Michael would be over here, and it would be completely separate. Until Scream occurred. Yeah. And then yeah. because it was at about that time where then you started like seeing more things in interviews and stuff of the relationship of Michael and Janet, and you realized how close they were. And why am I rambling about this, sort of off topic thing? Because it falls into why she wasn't in the movie. So I did my research after to because I was curious, why wasn't she in the movie? And the reason is because she didn't like the direction of the movie. She thought that there were definitely some inaccuracies. And let's be real, you are a silly viewer if you think everything in a movie is right with a documentary. Like, yeah, it's based on a real story and most facts can be confirmed, but there is always those tiny little details that they do for entertainment value to keep you invested, right? We've seen it all over the place. It's just like documentaries on YouTube. Those are not all full facts. They will do what they can to keep the viewer invested. Sometimes they smudge some details. At the end of the day, a documentary is done by someone other than the person that it's on. And no one knows anyone as good as you know yourself. So you're never going to get a true documentary on a dead person. Not unless they did it themselves before they died. Which is why I like my YouTube channel. You guys are getting the true documentary of one day when I die. If someone else decides to say something on my behalf, don't believe them. Because the reality is I don't talk to anyone really. No one knows shit about me. I don't tell anyone anything. So if you hear something about myself from me, you're one of the few people. And that's what I'm getting at, is that like a true documentary is done by the actual person. Yeah. Everything else can totally be fabricated. So getting back to why I think there'll be 3. So this ended at kind of his start success of his solo career. We now have missing Janet, right? And I get that she had her reasons for not being in the first, but I kind of hope she maybe decides to be in the second, because the second movie would line up with her, right? It's like, while there is some backed up info that she just didn't want to be part of it due to personal reasons, like, she didn't need to be part of it in the first one anyway. She wasn't a big part. She was off doing her own thing as as her career. She's also like 7 or 8 years younger than Michael. So like she really didn't need to be in the first one, but in the second one, they will for sure be going through like the 90s era. And that's the one she should be in. Once again, up to her whether she wants to be in it, but that is her and Michael's story. That's the 90s of the Michael story. So I think, honestly, you can't just, like, he's a fucking icon. You can't just make the world not believe that there was another sister. Like, we all know there was, right? This isn't like the Halloween H2O movie where you wipe out the fucking sun and then everyone just forgets there was a son. And then it turns into a daughter in the next movie. Like, this ain't one of those situations. This is real life, like, yeah. So at the very least, the second movie would mention her, right? She will be mentioned no matter what. Now, whether she chooses to be part of the movie, that's a different story. But she will 100% be mentioned. And then the reason I think there'll be a third, because you could end it on the second, but I think out of respect, the third if we're going to add the controversies in, the, the court cases and all that, that shit started in the 90s, actually. I didn't realize it started that early because I live under a rock. I didn't even know about those allegations until like 10 years ago. But I guess the first one was like the 93 or something. And then there was another one around 2004. And then that's kind of when it, got thrown out of court. And so I think that if we're going to add that into the story, then that needs to be its own separate movie on a third movie, because I think fans that maybe would like to just forget about that can stop at the first two, because that's controversial. Some people believe it, some people don't. At the end of the day, it was thrown out twice. I think that should be on a third. See, the nice part is if they decided not to do a sequel, which it's already in the works, so they're doing it. But if they decided not to, you do kind of got the perfect story. You just don't got the full story, right? But you got the perfect, like, happy story. That's his beginning. He tells dad that he's done doing what dad says, more or less, and he goes on his own and he's successful doing it. Like, that is the perfect happy story. And the second one can be, it can be the perfect happy story. It can be still happy, but success interferes story. Right? Because at the end of the day, the controversial shit, whether he did it or not, at the end of the day, people are always going to go after, like, he was the king of pop. Like, I'm surprised he didn't have more shit happen throughout his career. I'm surprised that was the only thing, because when you were that much at the top, people will attack you. That's all I got to say today. My apologies about the hair blowing all over the place. I wanted to do this in comfort, and it's a little hot in the room, top floor of the house. So if you've ever been in a house that has multiple floors, you know what I mean. But yeah, some last thoughts. The dad. Let's talk about the dad for a bit. So, one, yeah, asshole, right? Yeah, when you watch the movie, it's it's the same story over and over, right? Like, consider yourself lucky if you didn't grow up in an abusive household, because it's majority of people's stories. A lot of people out there have been in an abusive household. And I feel like it is very much the story for a lot of the older musicians, because I think hitting kids was like more, no one did shit about it in like the 50s, so 50s, 60s, whatever. So it's so many, like, there's so many artists out there. You watch their documentary and that's exactly how the childhood starts. It's, them being beaten if they don't do something. And yeah, so I think he's an asshole, but but without people hating me for this next comment, I do think that without his push, Michael might not have been the king of pop. Would he have still gone out there? Yeah, but he had some connections due to his dad forcing him into Jackson 5. Because of the success of Jackson 5, he had connections to be able to go do the solo album, and people already knew him from the Jackson 5. So it was kind of an easy transition to make, right? It would have been hard to say no to dad. And, like I know all about family, family shit. I disowned mine a long time ago, and it's hard. It is a hard decision to do. And it's hard to say, no, I'm going to go this way and you're not going to stop me. It is tough to like stand up to your parents. But I do think he was well connected before making that move, which helped him into becoming the title he was. So I'm not saying we wouldn't know Michael Jackson if his dad didn't push him, but he just might not have made it as big. He still would have done some good songs, but experiences, like for a lot of musicians, the best music you can make is built out of your heart, experiences you go through. And yeah, I think, sometimes I wonder if I've had a lot of bad experiences myself. I think if I made music, it'd be amazing, because some of the best music comes from pain, and I have a lot of it. I do a good job of hiding it and covering it up, but I have a lot of it. And I feel like that's how his was. Like he took that pain and he just put it into the music. Yeah. And I could always sense that through some of the lyrics, and yeah. And come on, the guy was so good at the music videos. Like, hell, he has had some great people in music videos. Like a lot of people probably don't realize Wesley Snipes is in Bad. If you've ever watched, like, I feel like nowadays people born after like 2000 probably don't watch music videos, right? Or they watch YouTube, like the new music on YouTube, stuff that came after 2000. But music videos were the shit back in the day. Like that, they were such a huge part of music. And nowadays, a music video is the performer on stage singing a song. But back then, like, Michael made movies, like he had short films as music videos. Thriller, Beat It, and Bad are like my 3 top music videos of his. And they are not necessarily because of the song. Don't get me wrong, the song's amazing. But it is because of what goes on, like the story behind those songs. So yeah. Anyway, I think I will end it here. I'm gonna move over to the computer, get this edited. And I would have had this earlier, but fun fact, a little extra thing to leave you guys with is that, okay, so I discovered this channel. I'd already been subbed to the channel. It's Michael Jackson's channel, right? So I went to it, and I guess ever since April 24th, which was the day Michael, the movie, came out, ever since that day, the Michael Jackson estate decided that they would do a thing. It's called The Station, and it is on the Michael Jackson YouTube channel, and it is a non-stop stream of all his stuff. And once again, music videos were the best back then, so I've been watching it. Yeah, I've been watching a good chunk. So, and I was watching a good chunk today, so that's why I got to this a little late, because I got invested. Because, like I said, his videos, like especially his older ones, they're like watching a movie. You get hooked. You get hooked, and yeah. So anyway. Yeah, great movie. I was impressed with it. I thought, like, in my personal opinion, who better to do a movie or at least act in a movie than his own family member? Hope you enjoyed this week's video. Let me know if you've watched it. I know there's a lot of controversy with him. I know my friend Mark, when I came home with the movie, I'm like, oh, do you want to watch Michael? But he's still stuck in the controversy stage, right? I never cared. I, like, without solid evidence, like, I just never believed it myself. I'm an evidence person, and if you can't provide me evidence, then I don't believe it. I've never been a person that points blame on like someone for no reason, and yeah. And plus, he was a different kind of individual. He had his childhood yanked from him. It's a hard topic to talk about, right? Because, like, you got people who are dead set that he did it, people who, yeah. And that right there is why the third movie should be separate, and that should be the controversial crap. If they're gonna do a full like documentary biopic on him, yeah, then that's how that one should be done. It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to go get this video edited so you guys can hopefully have it by 8. And for my regulars, I will not be on stream tonight. I am going to spend it editing a couple of other videos. And then, I work in the morning, so it won't be a late night anyway. Normally it's a React day. I did have some React content for us, but I'll push it till next Sunday. So the next stream will be on Monday. Have a great rest of your week. Have a good coming up week, and we'll catch you in the next one.